Hey, this is Rocket Brain Surgeon, and today we're talking about using altitude and airspeed in defense. Now, there are a couple different defensive options. The first one is simply out-turning your opponent. The next one is out-maneuvering them with the traditional things of loops and Immelman, split S. We can also out-climb the opponent and escape into the vertical. And the last one that we're going to talk about a little bit today is outspeeding the opponent. Not many people talk about this one, but it's still incredibly important to have in your arsenal. So we're in the P-36, and this is stock with a 75% crew, so it's pretty ghetto. But it still has the thing that I desire most, and that is it retains energy really well. That means it doesn't bleed airspeed too badly while climbing or while turning. Now let's pause it here. I'm looking behind me at the Bristol that's chasing me. I have a key mapped to snap to target for the camera, and this allows me to look behind, and why I looked behind me is I wanted to see what distance he was at. The reason why is because his guns are going to be effective within about 400 meters. So while he's turning around, if I just go straight and I'm 500-600 meters away or more, then he literally can't touch me. So instead of climbing, instead of turning, I can speed away from him and then reset the engagement. And now that I'm far enough away and I've regained my altitude advantage, I make a dive on him and the kill is incredibly easy. If I tried to get into a turn fight with him, I'd probably lose. This isn't the sharpest turning airplane. Also, if I tried to climb right in his face, it could happen what's happening now, where I'm just taking a bit of damage from people that are around me. So you can see what I'm doing right now really isn't working. I have to repair the engine. I do get to dive and kill an opponent, but now I look behind me again, and I'm going to speed away. I'm outside of the range of his guns, and I'm going to set up the advantage that I had earlier. I'm going to extend, and when it's safe, then I will turn around and approach from higher altitude. When you're diving, you don't have to boost while you're diving unless you think it's necessary. You don't have to dive too terribly steeply either. You just need to get enough airspeed to get away. They bleed a lot of airspeed while they're turning. If you're wondering how I'm living so long, diving gets a boost to accuracy on your guns, whereas planes that climb get an accuracy penalty. So it's always advantageous to attack from above at a plane lower than you, and it's always advantageous to have your opponents shooting up at you. I leave this guy alive, which annoys the heck out of me. Again, I'm looking back just to make sure that I'm not going to take too much damage, because I'm very low on health and I can't afford to be too terribly risky. It's an even game and my team really needs me to come through here. I'm gambling on this engagement, and that's an engagement which I won. However, looking back on it, that was a pretty stupid decision. I should have kept going straight, extending farther away, gaining altitude, and coming back to the engagement when it was much more favorable for me. One of the nice things about using outspeeding your opponent as a defensive maneuver is that it doesn't really depend on your plane's upgrade levels. For example, this plane is bone stock. It has a pilot that's 75%, and yet I'm able to get an ace game in it. How is that possible? Well, the plane itself has a wonderful energy retention, and it also has a very solid performance envelope for overspeeding. I've highlighted the performance envelope for your speed. The bright green area is where your plane will perform best within that range, and the dark green is an area where it will perform okay. When you get into the gray area, that's where you're going to have problems. Below it, you will stall, and above it, you're going to overspeed and make the plane incredibly difficult to control. The nice thing about a lot of boom and zoom planes like the American fighters is that the dark green area for overspeeding is very, very forgiving. You'll notice that I highlighted the altitude performance envelope on the right, and it has a very low area for error. But the plane dives well and is very controllable when overspeeding. Now you can get it pretty advanced with it. For example, you can decide on which way you want to extend from your enemy to prolong his type of turn and make him bleed off more airspeed, but this is just the general gist of it. Since this is Tier 4, I said a good rule of thumb is about 400 meters. There are some planes that can shoot farther. For example, the heavy fighters, German fighters especially, can hit you from 800 meters out. And the higher tier you go, generally the longer the range gets. However, this is a technique that's able to be used with any type of plane in a lot of different situations, and it's something that will last you for as long as you play the game. Hope you enjoyed. Happy hunting.